Welcome to the Trade Machine Podcast. I'm here with Hunter. Hunter, what's good?
What's up?
And Rich, what's going on?
Not much, man. What's going on?
And it's night one of free agency. We're recording this about 4 hours after free agency opens. We think most of the fun stuff's going to happen, but maybe we'll have some stuff pop off while we're on here or after. You know how it is in the NBA offseason. You never know. But honestly, it's been a little bit more eventful tonight than I expected.
Yeah, a lot of moves so far.
Well, what's interesting is there wasn't really like a marquee free agent, but a ton of teams, there were a ton of like really impactful role guys that could change teams, especially with how open the East is. And so we've got a couple big deals. I want to start off with probably the biggest name that's involved, and that's the Denver Nuggets. They traded Michael Porter Jr., 2032 first-round pick, and they get back Cam Johnson. Rich, what did you think when you first saw this trade?
I mean, I was honestly obviously you see somebody like Michael Porter Jr. who's been kind of a staple in just Denver's whole run through their whole, since they won the championship to now. But I personally think that Cam Johnson is going to be a great Jokic guy. And by that I mean a guy that is going to be where he's supposed to be, do what he's supposed to do. He's never really been the type to give a ton of production either way, but he's going to be able to defend a lot of guys with his size and just his skill level. He's a great shooter. Somebody that can space the floor for him, give Jokic the space. Just kind of implement that Denver culture that they've created this far. So I like it, man. I think Michael Porter Jr., I think it was bound to happen at some point. I think it was more of a contractual thing that he left and, just him not fitting there because obviously that was their squad. But I like it, man. I like Cam Johnson a lot. I think he's going to do a lot for the Nuggets. But Michael Porter Jr. going to the Nets, I don't really think much of the Nets right now. We'll see what they do with all the room that they have right now, but I don't really. There's not much there for me for the Nets.
Yeah, the Nets are waiting. They're waiting until something big happens. Hunter, what do you think?
I mean, it's just a cheaper and probably a better fit for Jokic.
Yeah.
Yes. Cam Johnson's going to do a little bit more defensively than Michael Porter was. It's going to be a little bit better fit offensively because it's going to be more passing around the offense. Just, I think a better overall player, but not that much better.
Here's what I think. I think that Cam Johnson does everything Michael Porter Jr. does, but just a little bit better. And he's less money on the books, and he's not near as weird as Michael Porter Jr. is in the locker room.
What you mean?
Bro, you see there's a lot of stories about Michael Porter Jr. and his teammates and some of the weird stuff he says and does. And his family is interesting. Cam Johnson is one of the smartest players in the league. If you've ever seen any of his podcast interviews, he's just a smart basketball, genius, really. He's one of the best movement shooters in the league. He gave you 19 a game on 39% shooting from three. I think those numbers are going up with Jokic. Cam Johnson was doing that with Cam Thomas, who was just dribbling the air out of the basketball every single game last year. And now Cam Johnson gets to play with the best passer in the league, probably. An all-time great.
Yeah.
He's not a great defender. I would hope that someone with his size would be when you talk about 3 and D, he's really not a defender, but he's better than Michael Porter Jr. defensively. And the one thing he can do that MPJ really can't is create for himself because he's been playing with the Nets. And this was the thing that I think he took a huge step last year is he had to grow as an on-ball creator. And so I think it's an awesome move for the Nuggets. Who cares about 2032? Jokic's going to be 37, and he's going to be back home riding horses, do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
You got a chance to win championships right now. And not only do the Nuggets, they get Cam Johnson, who they cut a ton of salary. Right, so now they have the full mid-level exception. They're under the first apron. And then they signed Bruce Brown immediately, and you think, oh, they used the mid-level exception to do that. They got Bruce Brown on a minimum. And so they bring back Bruce Brown. They bring in Cam Johnson, who's just going to be a better fit for them. And they have the full 14 whatever million mid-level exception to go out and get another guy if they really want to. I think it's an A-plus trade for the Nuggets.
I like
And
it.
honestly, for the Nets, Michael Porter Jr., what do you lose? They're not winning anything. You take a flyer on a guy with insane talent who, at his peaks, looks like a guy that can average 25, 26 a night in the league. He's 6'10". He's an elite shooter. And you get a first-round pick in the deal that could be really valuable down the road. They're not going to win or compete for anything. And why not take a flyer on Michael Porter Jr. when you have the cap space? You can do it. I think it's a good trade for both sides, but I think it's a great trade for the Nuggets.
I agree, bro. I like the fact that they're kind of going back to what they had success with on their championship run. Kind of get some familiarity back into Denver. Specifically the Bruce Brown trade, kind of like a test deal, the 1 year, bringing him back in. He was really big for them in that run, bro. Like off the bench, one of the guys that could carry the second unit offensively. Gave him just energy. I'm really big on energy guys, man. That's make or break your team in those playoff runs. So I agree, man. I like it.
And now, not only they've got Bruce Brown as that energy guy, but Christian Brown.
Yeah,
who
of
is
course.
Just he's already a better version of what KCP was on that championship team. He's the most improved candidate this year. Cam Johnson fits in so well with them. They got to figure out a backup big, but the Nuggets just took the champs to 7 games. They have the best player in the world. You're talking like a top 12 to 15 player all time, probably.
Yeah.
At the peak of his powers, like in his prime. And you just got better. So, the Nuggets, I was counting them out. I didn't see any way they were going to get any better. But for them to pull off this trade, I think it's a masterclass. I think the Nuggets got a lot better. And what looked like OKC's conference after tonight, I really think that the West got way better at the top. Not only the Nuggets, but one of the other big winners of night one of free agency is the Rockets.
They going crazy right now.
Insane. Not only did the Rockets Jordan Clark signing with the Knicks just now. He's going to be great. We'll talk about that in a second. Not only do the Rockets they get Fred VanVleet, who's going to make $44 million this year, and turn that into 2 years, $50 million. They re-signed Jabari Smith. They obviously traded for Kevin Durant, but they just signed Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capela.
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever a team that was made to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's the Rockets. You got a smart, scrappy point guard in Fred VanVleet. You've got a real bruiser of a big in Steven Adams who can just beat the mess out of Chet. Because for all Chet's strengths, he's just small. Steven Adams is the perfect guy to go against him. And then you have a million wings to go along with maybe the greatest scorer ever, just pure scoring ability.
Yeah.
I don't know, Hunter. What do you think about this Rockets team? Do you think that OKC's still far and away the best team? Or do you think the moves the Rockets made really moved the needle?
I mean, they're still the best, but Rockets are right there. I just don't get the Clint Capela move at all.
No?
What do you mean?
Giving him three-year deal when you just gave Steven Adams a 3-year deal. Now you have 3 centers, and you already have too many guys to work away to get another player into that rotation. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't necessarily...
And you're going to have to do a sign and trade to get him.
Yeah, but my first thought was that. But the more I think about it, who else are they signing? Like, if they have the money to do it, just get the depth.
I guess, but it's just such a weird fit for them to do it. There's just no need for that center that they needed, that they wanted.
Yeah, maybe, but who says Steven Adams doesn't get hurt and then all of a sudden Clint Capella's playing 15, 20 minutes a game, you know? It's never
I
a bad thing to have too many centers.
I think I definitely see what you mean, Hunter. Like you got all these centers that don't necessarily move the needle for him. But I thought Rockets got a lot better. Got themselves in that conversation to win it all as soon as they traded for Kevin Durant. The team as it was. But I think bringing on Clint Capella, they can have, like you were just saying, Alex. They can have those moments where, let's say, you are matched up against OKC, maybe round one or round two. They can kind of take guys out of the game. Like last episode, we were talking about when I was talking about Isaiah Hartenstein kind of getting played out of the game. You could do that to one of their foundational pieces in Chet. If he can't rebound, if he can't get comfortable with these two big guys down low where he's operating, and of course he can explain it for, he can shoot it. Which he was knocking down those shots, and I'll give him the credit there. But Clint Capella, I think, is just that veteran mentality that you kind of need to go on these runs. Clint Capella has, he was on that team with. I'm trying to think. My bad. Let me make sure. Let me fact check myself. He was he was running
Harden Rockets teams, bro.
Yeah, and he was just that guy that those easy points. When you just need a bucket, bro, you get somebody. You drive to the lane, lob it to Clint. He's gonna be there for you. He's not an elite rebounder, but he's got the size. He can just make things uncomfortable for teams like OKC or teams that don't necessarily have big that can compete. And if him and Steven Adams are ever on the floor at the same time, just for a few minutes, I don't think that's gonna. They don't give him a ton offensively, but you think about you need stops. You clog up the lane with those two, and then you got KD doing what he does on the outside, Fred VanVleet shooting. Amin Thompson emerging. Torrey Eason, who I really like, is going to emerge. I think he's just going to get better. I think that the move was more of, like I was just saying, just that depth piece, and more of, less of being like a foundational piece of the run than just being like somebody that can come in and give you good minutes when you need it, whether that be because of injury or, somebody just tired for a minute and need a break.
Everything in the playoffs is about being able to adjust and make adjustments from game to game. And what the Rockets have now is they have a big in Şengün, who's one of the most creative passers and scorers out of the post in the league. Right? Young star, all-star. They've got another big in Steven Adams, who's just a bruiser, defensive rim protector. Who's just going to come and beat up whoever your front court players are or anyone that comes into the in the lane. And then you add that with Capela, who's an athletic pick and roll guy who can catch lobs, play above the rim. He didn't play great for the Hawks these last couple of years. Like Onyeka Okongwu should have been starting, but you think maybe if he can regain a little bit of that juice on a really good team, if anything, this allows them to give any look that they need in a playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
If they need a guy to catch lobs and play in the pick and roll with Fred VanVleet, then they've got that. If they're playing against a small team and they need someone who's going to be able to just dominate in the post as a scorer, they've got that in Şengün. If they're playing a too big setup and they really, really need size down there, they've got it with Steven Adams and Şengün at the 4. Like, they've got any look you need, they got it. And for me, the big thing is everyone needs centers. When you look at the league, the Celtics just signed Luka Garza. All right?
Yeah.
Like, right now, the starting center for the Celtics, if they played today, would be Luka Garza or Neemias Queta. It's insane. Maybe George Niang, Who knows? And
Fake
he's like
champs.
6'2".
Yeah.
Hunter, if you ever say fake champs about the Boston Celtics ever again, I swear to God. Anyway,
It's an
the
opportunity to make you
Warriors
angry.
don't have a center. They've got
No.
Draymond, who's 6'6", and they got Quentin Post.
And they lost
You know,
Looney.
We all know the Lakers don't have a center. I'm assuming they're going to sign DeAndre Ayton. That's what it feels like.
There's
They
been
need
two
to.
new moves recently.
Jordan
It
Clarkson.
feels like they're going to sign DeAndre Ayton. Jordan Clarkson's the big one. We're going to talk about him in a second.
Yeah.
And then the other one we're not going to talk about. We don't need to talk about that.
You don't want to talk about
Watford?
Trent Watford?
No, I don't think we need to talk about Watford. All that to say, what Clint Capela gives you is another salary you can throw in if you want to make a big splash. Or what he also gives you is the opportunity to have salaries that you can use to trade for Giannis, to trade for Jaylen Brown if they want to make another big splash in this whatever Rockets team, however they want to grow for the future. So it's not a great signing, but DFS is a great signing. And Clint Capela, why not? He's the 10th man. Go ahead and throw it at him. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back, and we're going to we're going to go to the East, talk about the Atlanta Hawks. All right, so we're back. We've been talking about the Western Conference, but I want us to move to the Eastern Conference, where I think the Atlanta Hawks have had the best offseason, maybe of any team outside of the Houston Rockets. Tonight, the Hawks, they get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and they had a $25 million trade exception. And so not only do they get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they do it via sign and trade into their exception, so they still have the mid-level exception, and then they go and sign Luke Kennard as well, who's one of my sneaky favorite free agents. As just a real good shooter, kind of backup guard. They had already been huge winners of the offseason, just turning their pick into the Pelicans first next year, the Pelicans or the Bucks first, whichever one's better, which both of those teams could fall apart. I'd be shocked if one of them doesn't. And they get Asa Newell, and they get Kristaps Porzingis. They're surrounding Trae Young with just big, elite defensive wings and bigs, and now shooting. I love this deal. I love Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I think the Hawks are like a real sneaky bet in the East. Rich, what are your thoughts on Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard's fit with the Hawks?
Like you said, man, just getting some of that size. Specifically for Nickeil, bringing some just elite defense, bro. You saw him through the playoffs. He was guarding the best players, the bucket getters, and he was actually having success against them. Then on the flip side, he can bring you some, just offensive production that gets you to the next level, bro. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has emerged as one of my favorite players just to watch.
Bro, I love him.
Bro, he's just
I'm all in.
me too, bro. Because he's just got that. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if it's because SGA's his cousin. He's like, I'm good too, or if he's just, he's just like here to be like, man, I'm here, bro. Like I'm a hooper. I know the game because clearly he knows basketball, bro. Like,
yeah,
a lot of NBA players. I mean, you would think that everybody knows basketball on a mental level, but a lot of times guys can get by just on their talent. But him specifically, he has the talent, but he also, you can tell he thinks the game too. He's thinking, he's playing chess. He's not just out there for a body to be on the court. He's out there because he's going to give you what you need to win. He's a winner. He's just got that mentality. And then Luke Kennard coming in, giving him even more shooting. I could see a lineup with, let's say Trae, Nickeil, Luke, Kristaps, let's not leave Dyson Daniels out of here. I'll put Dyson Daniels and then Kristaps, give him the 5. That's just like you got Nickeil and Dyson Daniels locking everything up on defense, guarding their best players. Now the opposite end, Trae Young's pulling up from half court. You got Kristaps, who what do you do? He can shoot it. He's tall enough, like, where he doesn't have to be, you can have elite rebounders on the court, but you got a 7 foot, what is he, 7'2", 7 foot plus guy out there, just clogging up lanes and making stuff uncomfortable. And it's just I love the moves that they made, man. I actually wanted to ask, do y'all think is you think Trae Young's in the blueprint for this? You don't think they're going to get rid of him?
I think they built this team. If you're gonna succeed with Trae Young, this is the type of team it's got to be.
Yeah.
Because my thing with Trae Young is he's just not my kind of basketball player. Like, he's a high volume shooter, and when you think Trae Young, you think elite shooter, but he has not shot the ball well for years.
No, he hasn't.
Like, he's an inefficient 3-point shooter, and the Hawks didn't have any other shooters. But if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be with a team like this, where you can surround him with defenders. Nickeil Alexander-Walker shot 38% from 3 last year. We all know what Luke Kennard can do as a shooter. Kristaps is one of the best shooting bigs ever, but who knows? As long as he's healthy, you've got elite shooting. Jalen Johnson, who I think is their best player. And if Trae Young can tap into his playmaking and some of those, like, he always talked about how Steve Nash was his favorite player. Like, if he can tap into some of that playmaking, pass-first mentality, I think that's what they're going to have to do, because I don't think anybody's trading for Trae Young unless Miami loses out and decides to give away, Andrew Wiggins and all their picks. Maybe they do that, but I don't know.
No, that
Hunter,
wouldn't.
are you seeing the Hawks' vision?
Yeah, no, they think they're going to end around 4th in the East. Definitely not playing anymore because it's too good of a team. They got all the backups. They got all the starters you need. And they got someone who can play at that high level late in games and Trae Young.
So here, if you aren't watching the podcast, you're just listening to it, Hunter has a different Cavs jersey on every single time we record. Hunter is a massive Cavs fan. And when I think, the first team I think about when I think about the Hawks is the Cavs. And here's why. The Cavs are built around 2 elite guards. Right? 2 elite guards. Can you imagine a lineup where, all right, Dyson Daniels is on Donovan Mitchell, so we're going to let Darius Garland cook. Except you got Nickeil Alexander-Walker on Darius Garland.
Yeah.
Like, that backcourt is hell defensively.
But you got to figure out who goes to Trae Young. You're just ignoring Trae Young in that situation. I got to point that part out.
Trae Young's going to be on the bench, bro. I don't even care.
That's just not going to happen. Trae Young is closing out every single game for them. They're not benching him.
He's probably closing games, but even then, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is big, bro. And
they're going to play him more of a
Daniels.
3 than a 1.
Like, I really think, for me, their closing lineup is Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson, and then depending on what you need offensively, if you need pick and pop shooting, it'll be Kristaps. If you need pick and roll lob threat, it'll be Onyeka Okongwu. Either way, 2 elite defensive players. And then you've just got Zachary Risacher on the bench, who's just the first overall pick, and honestly had a really good rookie year. And I think he's going to be even better. Like, when I see Risacher, I see like Tobias Harris, essentially, which we've laughed at Tobias Harris for years. But, like, Tobias Harris got the max for a reason, right? He was a good basketball player.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy that I think Zachary Risacher could be. Dude, I'm not a Trae Young guy. If I was the Hawks, I would have tried to trade him to the Magic. The Magic got Desmond Bane. That's not happening. Maybe the Heat. I don't see another team that's trading for Trae Young. I just don't see it. And if you can't get anything worth it, the second best thing you can do is build a team around him that takes care of every single one of his weaknesses, and you just let him cook. So I think they keep him.
No, I think that'll be. I ask because I think the best option is to keep him because, like you said, nothing really makes sense. Nowhere else makes sense for him to go. But if they would have had this like idea from the jump, which I know it takes kind of trial and error kind of thing, and I'm not a GM, so I'm like, there's a lot more that goes into it than just being like, hey, if we need this, let's do this. But this gives them so much variability in their lineups. This gives Trae Young so much not only does he have that elite defense, not only does he have, you know, more help on offense as far as like just shooting spacing, but he can kind of just get into that playmaking bag. And let's say he is having an off night, he can kind of delegate the shooting to other guys now. But if he is on, and everybody else, like if the stars align for this team, bro, they could be one of those. I don't even call them a dark horse anymore, bro, because on paper,
They're
at
not a
least,
dark horse no more, bro.
yeah, at least on paper, it looks like they're about to run the East, especially with the way the East is kind of wide open right now. You know, it's a lot of injuries, and you know, things are changing in the East big time.
I just saw a tweet that after the, I think it was Bill Simmons was tweeting after the moves today in free agency, the Hawks went from plus 3,300 to win the East to plus 900.
Yeah, bro.
They're like one of the favorites to win the East now.
Yeah, they're nasty,
Like
bro.
this is one of the teams. You got the Hawks, and then the other team. It's a small, and I want to shift gears a little bit because when we think about who are the real contenders in the East next year, obviously you have the Cavs, you obviously have the Knicks, right? Who are the only teams that are still healthy from the contenders this last season. You know, the Celtics. My guess is unless they do something insane and get a center, my guess is that they're going to ride it out this year, get way under the second apron, get as many picks as they can, probably trade Anthony Simons, and then load up for next summer, build a team around Jalen, Derek White, Tatum, and they probably don't even bring Tatum back this year. The Bucks, I don't see the vision. It's just not going to happen. The Pacers, Halliburton's not coming back, especially a point guard that runs around like that. He's not coming back this year. They're gonna sit him the entirety of the year.
Indiana's
So
too fast paced for that.
Exactly. So you got the Cavs, you got the Knicks, and then the three sleeper teams we've been talking about were the Hawks, like we said, not a sleeper anymore. And what's crazy is I was reading, they could technically sign and trade for Kennard and still have a mid-level exception available to go and get somebody else if they wanted to. A-plus moves, and they've got all of the assets to go and get a big name guy if they wanted to. You know, like they've got the stuff to get a Jaylen Brown now. You know, that Pelicans pick, they've got more Pelicans pick. They've got some of their own picks. They've got Risa Shea. They've got the stuff to go and get like a real star if they want. And then you have the Pistons, who we talked about, and the Magic. And the Magic have made one small signing in free agency, but I actually don't think it's small at all. And that's Tyus Jones. Y'all see the Magic sign Tyus Jones?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up, bro. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, because I was.
Because Tyus Jones, a lot of people are a little lower on Tyus Jones because he went to the Suns last year and the Suns were bad. And the thing is, there was no playing good on that Suns team.
Yeah, you couldn't.
That was just a dysfunctional team. And the last time we saw Tyus Jones, where he was able to be on a really good team like this as the backup point guard, was with the Grizzlies, where he was just the best backup point guard in the league.
Yeah.
He's an elite passer. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he's going to be able to offer some offensive juice to a team that needs it. And so now, if I'm looking at the Magic, they bring in Desmond Brain. They bring in Jace Richardson, who's going to be able to shoot immediately, even if he's small. He's going to be able to shoot. He's going to be a feisty defender. And you bring in Tyus Jones. The only thing the Magic needed was guards that could create some offense, and they brought in 3. I think the Magic have everything they need to contend in the East next year. And I know we keep saying the East is wide open, the East is weak. These teams are getting better.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have some real nasty teams next year. Hunter, if you had to make a decision right here, right now, who's more likely to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Orlando Magic or the Atlanta Hawks?
I'm still the Magic. Because Paolo Franz is the duo. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then you got Desmond Bain as your third option.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jalen Suggs as your fourth. It's already... Like, those two as your 3 and 4 options are amazing. And then you got to think about, you got a center who can shoot too in Wendell Carter. So you got spacing there. And your backups aren't bad anymore. Because Jace Richardson is going to be an instant impact. And Tyus Jones gives you another playmaker. And Goga, backup big.
Goga. Jonathan Isaac, maybe he can capture a little.
Anthony
we had a couple
Black.
years ago. I love Anthony. I haven't even mentioned Anthony Black, who I feel the same way about Anthony Black as I did about Nickeil Alexander-Walker a couple years ago. I think he can be that kind of player. He's got to find his shot. He can't shoot to save his life, but he's a similar player in that way. They've almost got too many guys at this point, where they went from not having enough guys.
They filled those holes.
I think the Magic, exactly, and the reason I think the Magic are right up there, probably the third best team in the East next year, above the Hawks still, is all because of the ceiling of Paolo and Franz. Like,
Yeah,
we know what Trae Young's ceiling is. We've seen it. It's a good player. He brought his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Jalen Johnson, I think, is really good. But even then, his ceiling is not the same ceiling that Franz and especially Paolo have.
They're both like 25, 6 and 6 ceilings, maybe better. So I mean, you can't
because you get
mad at that.
Trae Young, bro. I am a Trae Young guy, bro. Like, just being, y'all know I'm a hooper, bro, and I'm always one of the most undersized guys on the court. So that's why I like Trae Young, because he can get his buckets, whatever. But when you have the production that Franz and Paolo bring, along with the size, like, if Paolo puts his head down, bro, and he wants to do what he wants to do, he's going to do it. It doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Franz is the same way. Once he wants to go get a bucket, if they need it, he's going to do that. So when you have that size and then you add just elite everything on the other end, like, there's nothing you can do. So I'm like, the fact that they filled those holes, and I don't think these guys are going to regress much, or if any. I think they're only going to get better. These guys are young, and they've been only getting better every year. Paolo is one of my favorite players to watch as well, just because if you're going to be that guy for your team, you have to be that guy night in, night out. No questions asked. He can have an off night. Now, everybody has off nights. I'm not saying he's perfect every night, but Paolo is just, he's that guy, bro. And you got somebody like Franz who could be the first option. You can they could be interchangeable, really. But the Magic, I pick the Magic in that scenario too, just because I feel like, yeah, you got Trae Young, but you got Paolo and Franz on the Magic that give you they're just elite. You can't do nothing with that with size too.
Yep. I think the Magic and the Hawks are gonna surprise the casual fans next year.
Yeah.
Who like kind of casually check in. I don't think they're gonna be ready for how good these teams are gonna be.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, yeah, go Hunter.
This Hawks team is better than their team that made the conference finals a few years ago.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Miles better.
That alone makes him a team you have to worry about.
Are they going to get lucky enough to play some absolute choke artists in the second round like they did that year? Probably not. I shouldn't say mean things like that, but the Hawks broke Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Like, that run was the run that broke Ben Simmons. I think they broke each other, right? Joel Embiid was too busy breaking his own body every year in the playoffs to break Ben Simmons. But if you remember, that was the play where Ben Simmons had a dunk, and he was so scared of getting fouled and going to the line that he passed out of it.
Yeah.
Bro, I'll never forget it. Ben Simmons has been one of the players that pissed me off. Yeah. Yeah.
He had it all, bro. He had it all.
From all NBA to barely even playable at that point.
Exactly. So, I think that we've got some really good teams. This Hawks team is better. This is the best Hawks team Trae Young's ever had. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. And the Magic are just insane. I want to hit a couple quick fire deals, and then we're going to talk. I got one more team I want to go back to the West and talk about. But, Hunter, again, as a Cavs fan, a couple former Cavs have signed with other teams. I want you to tell me how these players are going to help their new teams. First up, Caris Lavert, 2 years, $29 million to the Pistons. How do you see Caris Lavert working with the Pistons?
He's going to fill that role that Malik Beasley's now gone out of. So you get that extra playmaker off the bench.
Shit,
Get that extra playmaker off the bench.
For Rich.
I was just talking him up, bro. Go ahead, man. Yeah.
No, it could be false.
bro. He's
I don't know,
out
bro.
of there, bro. He's out of there, bro. He's
No
out of there.
defense.
It's
Clips.
got to be raps.
He's out of there.
It's got to be raps. Not just the no defense clips. That coast to coast to save
4
the
seconds
spread
left.
when
Like,
they were
you
down by
crazy,
9.
bro. You're
Because
crazy.
he was like panicking, like ball.
Yeah.
That was insane. Caris Lavert, I think he's going to be a bucket getter off the bench for them. He's not going to start. He's obviously not the shooter that Malik Beasley was, but he is. I actually think he can create a little bit more on the ball than Malik Beasley could.
He's used to that system because that was JB Bickerstaff, who he was on the Cavs with for 3 years. So
Yeah, who
makes a big
he played
difference.
his best
just
basketball.
an
with JB.
instant fit for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second one, Ty Jerome. Your darling Ty Jerome signs with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's going to be the backup to John Morant. Tell me what Ty Jerome's going to do for the Grizzlies.
It's a little weird of a fit unless they're planning to start one of him or Scottie Pippen Jr. That just gives them another ball handler and a point guard that can shoot, which they don't really have. They got 2 point guards that aren't the best shooters, but good defensive and driving. Ty Jerome's going to be their better shooter. He's going to run a slower paced offense.
Yeah, I think when I think about Ty Jerome's fit, it's going to be no John Morant. They have no one to create offense outside of John Morant. It's not really what Scottie Pippen's best at. Scottie Pippen Jr., I should say. I shouldn't just start throwing around
Scottie
Scottie
Pippen was pretty good at creating offense.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Not too shabby, man. My takeaway, Scottie Pippen, pretty good at basketball. That's my opinion for tonight.
Agreed.
What Ty Jerome's going to be able to create some offense, do some pick and roll stuff. And Memphis gets to start a lineup with John Morant, Jalen Wells, and Cedric Coward. I think is going to start for them. Who's just going to be a good 3-and-D player off rip. Next to Jaren Jackson, Defensive Player of the Year, shooter, All NBA player who just got a massive deal, $240 million over 5 years. Like huge deal for Jaren Jackson. And then Edie or whoever's starting at the 5. You got Ty Jerome and a couple other bench pieces.
Santi Aldama.
Actually, I think Aldama they re-signed, who's really good.
I like him.
I think they're going to be good, man. I think they're going to be good. Now, the West is stacked, so who knows what good means. Like, is good a play-in team?
I think they're 4 through 6, but
maybe. I mean, 2 through 6 was like 3 games apart this year.
Yeah.
I think the
So the difference
Warriors are
between-
getting worse. And depending on what the Lakers is, I think they're their level. The Lakers could be better, but the Lakers at worst are at the Grizzlies level. So
Depends on what they do at the 5, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, because I don't know, we can transfer to this now. There's been a ton of drama around the Lakers. Rich, you're a Laker fan. It feels like the Lakers are going to sign DeAndre Ayton. It's either going to be Ayton or Horford. They're going to get a center. I would be shocked if the Lakers didn't end up getting a center. Like worst case scenario, they get Yabu, who's undersized but can play the 5 if he needs to. Like the Lakers are going to get a center. But there's been all this drama around LeBron saying he needs to be on a championship team. Do you see any world where LeBron doesn't play for the Lakers next year, Rich?
Not as long as Bronny's on the team. I think that was just that was too big of a deal for him to just leave. But being for real, bro, being for real, I did kind of play out some scenarios where I'm not sure. At this point, bro, LeBron's 40. So I know it's LeBron, but teams are going to give up a bunch for him. So like, what are we really getting back in return for LeBron? But I did see a lot of, going back to Cleveland one last ride, or him linking back up with Pat Riley. That team's kind of, they're trying to figure it out. So I could see him going maybe back to Miami. But realistically, I think he stays with the Lakers, and it's just, I think LeBron. You talk about the face of the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. LeBron still being here at 40 plus years old in LA. If he was going to leave, I just think there would be more drama than what's been so far. I think he comes back to the Lakers. I think he gives it. I think he retires a Laker. Um, I just don't see any other way besides maybe going back home or going somewhere where he has success in Miami. That would make a lot of sense for him to leave. And again, it's LeBron. It's just about what LeBron wants to do at this point. There's no it doesn't really have to make sense. If LeBron wants to do it, he's going to do it. Um, I would like to see him stay here and retire a Laker because I feel like I just said, what are we getting? What are we getting in return for LeBron? Right now. I don't want picks. I do want some youth on the team, but we're not getting that for LeBron right now. He's retiring next couple years. We're not getting anybody that's really going to move the needle for us. So I honestly don't see. I don't see him leaving the Lakers. I see him coming back playing with Luka, and because Luka mentioned him as one of his favorite players a while back. Kind of coaching up Luka a little bit on his way out, and hopefully going out with a ring.
Yeah, man. It feels like they're going to get Ayton. I don't really like the fit because I feel like Ayton's going to want to cook. And you already got Austin Reeves, Luka, and LeBron on that team. They need somebody that's going to catch lobs. Here's where I think Ayton could be good. His best years were with Chris Paul as a lob threat and as a mentor. Chris Paul and Bron are tight. Chris Paul is a free agent. Maybe there's a world where the Lakers could get Chris Paul, just a backup point guard. Basically like a player-coach sort of situation. You bring in Ayton. I start to like that team a lot, actually. If you can get the best out of Ayton. The downside with Ayton, though, is you have a team that has a bunch of guys calling for the ball. And really the only one that needs it is Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
That's the only downside.
Hold on. They still have LeBron.
I understand, but LeBron, you know what I mean, right? LeBron was awesome post Luka. We saw a defensive side of LeBron that we hadn't seen in years because he didn't have to carry the burden offensively.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that all next year. I think we're going to see LeBron as a passer, defender, really just smart, connective player. But yeah, I don't think LeBron's leaving because he has a no trade. And with a no trade, they're just not getting anything for him. He's 41 years old. He's got $53 million. The Cavs would probably have to trade. They'd either have to do a 4 or 5 teamer weird stuff with Jared Allen and DeAndre Hunter, and then they're shipping off whoever else to shed salary, or it's got to be Darius Garland just to make the money work. I'm not trading Darius Garland for LeBron James.
Yeah, you have to give up one of Jared Allen and Garland, and someone mixed with them. It just gives up
can't do it.
one of your young players with a role player. Just makes it hard to do, knowing you only got 1 year out of it.
If it was easy enough to go Jared Allen, DeAndre Hunter for LeBron and Bronny, maybe you get some young talent in the door with Bronny, see what he becomes.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. we'll see.
We'll see if I get Hunter to bite. Let's see if I get Hunter to bite.
Let me. I ain't gonna.
Junior, we're fine.
I ain't gonna disrespect Bronny like that, bro. He was killing in the G League, so he got it, bro. He just gotta. You coming in under LeBron?
I like his game.
Yeah, I do too. A lot.
It's just, they're gonna be a package deal. You ain't just
have to, bro. That's why I led with that, bro. Bronny's on this team. Bronny's on that team. LeBron's there. There's no at this point. No, there's no way.
That's what I'm saying. And Bryce is coming down in a couple of years too. He's going to Arizona. So who knows what's gonna happen, man?
LeBron, go ahead and just retire, bro. I love you, man. Just ride it out with the Lakers and get out.
Hang up the sneakers. Yeah, I think he stays with the Lakers because the only other team that makes sense is the Cavs. I saw someone say Dallas would be interested. There is no world where it's not
Steven
happening.
Adams.
That would actually be extremely interesting. It's not happening. Just watching LeBron and KD both at the end of their careers in Houston. Insane. I don't think LeBron leaves LA. He's not going to the Clippers. And I want us to end with the Clippers. We're getting close to our time. But the Clippers brought in Brook Lopez. So, first, James Harden declines his deal 2 years and signs a new one. 2 years, $81.5 million. He has a player option for next year, but it's also partially guaranteed. So both parties are taken care of, right? So if they don't want to keep him, they can still cut him. He still gets his partial money. He can go out and test free agency. And also,
In 2 seconds, guys. I'll be right back.
he gets a raise. You're good. Brook Lopez is the perfect backup center, in my opinion, for Zubac. The team's loaded. And I know we've talked about Denver. We've talked about Houston. We've talked about OKC. We talked about the Lakers. I think the Clippers are the sneaky team. They've just got a bunch of pieces, Hunter.
Yeah.
What do you think the ceiling is for the Clippers?
The ceiling is they could win it. They just have to stay healthy. That ceiling with Kawhi and James Harden as a duo is always going to be championship level.
Yeah,
But
I mean, they played those Nuggets really well, and then the Nuggets took the Thunder to 7. Like, you could see the vision.
And it was just a bad Game 7 from James Harden, but
He never does that. Like, he probably won't do that again, right?
no. Very rare. But they are built to where in 3 years, almost nobody on their roster will be there. They're all 30 plus, waiting for this run to finish, and then they're going full rebuild.
James Harden loves not showing up in the playoffs almost as much as I love canned chili.
He eats it almost daily, so.
Death, taxes, and James Harden not showing up in the playoffs. I had canned chili today with tater tots for lunch. I'm serious, bro. So, I think the team is extremely talented. I want to love it, but at the end of the day, you bring in Brook Lopez, great backup center who's just going to be, again, a scary rim protector, and he's just going to chuck shots. Perfect for James Harden. But at the end of the day, I know in a playoff series, when it comes down to it, James Harden's not going to show up because he literally never has.
Yeah.
You don't think that it can change when he's 37 years old?
I don't think now's the time.
But bro, honestly, that series against Denver was a great series. Don't get me wrong.
Awesome series.
LA they had the opportunity to go up 3-1 in that series, and that was a crazy Aaron Gordon put back dunk that tied the series. I think they had a lot of control in that series. And then you bring on Brook Lopez, who, like you said, gives them rim protection and some shooting. That just, I don't know, man. I think they could make a run. I'm never counting out Kawhi. I love Kawhi. I love just the kind of player he is, and the just what he brings to the team. He's more of a lead by example guy, not necessarily a vocal leader, but it's infectious to the team, bro. Every team that he's been on, he's made better. It's kind of like the Chris Paul effect, but in a completely different way. Kawhi is just going to dominate, and he's one of those guys that is a superstar, but also can be your energy guy just in terms of production and what he's giving you on the court. So, I mean, I don't think Brook Lopez isn't like a huge, like, oh, they're a shoe-in for Western Conference Finals. But they had Denver back on their heels for a minute, man, and luckily Denver got that little, that got some stuff to go their way. But I like the Clippers, bro.
They were up there and they got better.
Yeah,
they could have easily beat Denver, and then who knows how they match up with the Thunder. I don't think anybody's beating the Thunder, but then again, they got
playoff
better.
Run.
And that's my
Even
thing.
Even if it was a little bit better, they got better.
That's my thing, though. You put Kawhi on a team against OKC, I think the whole dynamic just changes, bro. I think Kawhi is just that kind of player. He's going to impact. I don't know if I'm just trying to think of matchups right now. Maybe in crunch time, Kawhi's like, okay, let me get SGA. That's a whole different beast. You trying to go against Kawhi.
Whole different world, bro.
Like
whole different world.
A lot of stuff that you getting off. Kawhi is a smart defender. He's excellent offensively. That gives you so much more to worry about for SGA. Than you got guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker guarding you. He's not Kawhi. As good as he is, he's not Kawhi.
Yeah, I feel like we got robbed of that.
Yeah.
That's what I would have loved with the Celtics Thunder series in the finals.
Yeah.
What we thought we were going to get was being able to see like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum guarding SGA.
Changes
And
everything.
The Pacers didn't have nobody like that. Kawhi against SGA. Even the Knicks, if we could have saw OG, or Mikal Bridges. I think that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of team that I think can beat the Thunder. They got to have that, and then they got to be really physical up front with Chet and Hartenstein. And I think that's how you beat the Thunder. But we'll see. We got a whole season to talk about it, a whole offseason. There's still some big names that haven't been signed. The backup point guard market, Dennis Schroeder, Chris Paul, Malcolm Brogdon, Russell Westbrook.
Schroeder's pretty much signed.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Oh, the report was him and the Kings were agreeing to a contract. It just hasn't been set yet.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We haven't gotten an announcement about it yet. He'll probably be on the Kings, which I kind of like. They need a point guard desperately. We got Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas. I think Cam Thomas is going back to the Nets, but Gary Trent Jr. is going to be good for a team. Tim Hardaway Jr. And then you got Kuminga, Yabu,
Bro,
Miles Turner, Al Horford.
I didn't even mention with the Clippers, bro, Zubac, how he came up this year, bro. Like, that's a whole, another
He was
aspect.
insane. That's what I'm saying. You get just a dog of a defensive center, and then he checks out, and who's coming in? Brook Lopez, who's also just like a defensive monster. That's why, even though it's not a big deal, I think it's a great deal for the Clippers, and not one I expected. So, honestly, we expect it to be a little bit of a boring night one with free agency because there's no teams have cap space. There's no big free agents. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good one. I think we're going to have a good offseason. There's still some dominoes to fall. Catch us at the Trade Machine Podcast on all socials. We're thinking of some creative ways to get involved with listeners and to start building a little bit of a community. I'm pretty pumped about it. So stay tuned for that. We'll see y'all when we see y'all. Most likely, unless any big things happen this offseason, we'll see you guys next Monday. Monday night. So peace out.